Hi everybody. It's a really crummy day outside. I don't know if you can hear the rain hitting on the roof or not. And I think I'm going to talk about my tethered Mantis and my Lone Wolf Hand Climber, how I have them set up. So let's get right into it. First thing I think I'll talk about is the hand climber itself. The problem that I have with this hand climber is if your feet happen to slip out of this hand climber, with this weight being forward, it tilts this hand climber just like this. And when that happens, of course, it goes down the tree, and that's where the problems start. Well, if you tie just a string to the front of this right here, you can't pull this thing back like you think you would. It just doesn't work. So what I did, this is nothing more than a piece of paracord with a couple loops in it. I want to show this to you here. I just made a loop on either side. It's tied like so. Then I've got one on this side too. When you bring these together like this, it's obvious what you could see happens. You can bring that hand climber back up level, and that's really important. Then of course, all I do, I have this, and now you can see. You just make your loops through, and if your feet do slip out of your climber or whatever happens, you can bring this back up and you don't have any problem with that anymore. All I did for the foot loops is just a regular strap that I cut off. One thing about this strap is originally I had it more forward, and you don't want that. The reason is the more weight forward you're putting this way, the less weight it has back here, and that's where you have your bite that goes like this, that cam action. If you have your feet way forward, it's a possibility of you doing this, and of course then you've got trouble. So I moved this strap back to the second to the last, and that seems to work a lot better. Another thing I did, when I'm moving anything, if I have to move, I always keep one foot back here. I always keep pressure on this. Another thing that I did, and I saw this on another video, was I put bolts through the hand climber to give it more of an angle when it goes and bites the tree. What was happening, from what I understand, and it made sense to me, was when this had a lower angle, you were snagging bark and snagging the tree all the time and trying to pull this up. Well, with this brackets set like this with these bolts, I just put a bolt with a couple nuts on them. You don't have that problem. And so this has been working okay for me. I would recommend having more than just this as a backup. Practice with some other devices, whatever you can come up with, to make sure that if this thing does go out, that you have another way of getting out of that tree. Okay, now we're on to the tethered Mantis itself. And here's the problems that I've been having with this thing, and I haven't figured them out. To begin with, this thing, if you look at it, looks like it should work fine. But what happens when you're using this, this thing starts to creep up. What a view, huh? It starts pulling up like so. And as it does that, if nothing else, it's really, really uncomfortable. I mean, it feels like you can have more, should have more seat. And you can by pulling this down. But what happens is this is cut too short down in between your crotch here. And you can pull these things and tighten them up, and you're still going to, it ends up with this part sliding up. And I don't know if that's part of the material. Myself, I think they really are going to do a tethered 2 or something where this is all taken care of. When you tighten up this bridge, it goes like so, but in reality it's pulling this up this way. It pulls up on here, and if you happen to slip or slide, all that weight, let me get you repositioned here, all that weight is coming into here, and this bridge tightens around your rib cage like so. And if your feet slip out of that hand climber or anything else, all your weight pushes right into these into this bridge, and that's where I had the real problem. But as you can see now, this thing starts pulling up just by me pulling on this. I think they really need to redesign this whole tethered Mantis for the way I have used it. There's something wrong, and I think it's just you need 2 more inches of fabric right down in this area here in the back, because as you sit now already, this is way too high, and you need to stand up, and you're doing one of these numbers, and they recommend loosening this belt, bringing it down below your waistline, and then using it like so. And they claim that you can loosen these straps right here. Well, these straps are what's pulling this from the back to the front, and that doesn't make any sense to me, because then you're right back in the same position as you were before with this thing sliding up. And so the long and the short of it is, for a person that leans in a tree, I think this would be fine. But if you do any amount of sitting, and I want to do a lot of sitting, this isn't the way to go. I think this tethered Mantis needs to be redesigned myself. And there's arguments out there for both of them. Another crucial part to using a hand climber with your tethered Mantis is getting your hand climber secure to the tree once you're at hunting height. And this is what I have come up with, and any version of this would be fine. I have a ratchet strap that I had from another hand climber, and that's what I'm using. Along with your tethered Mantis comes 2 carabiners that I'm using to go around the tree, and either end of these connect to the hand climber, and then you just tighten this down, and your hand climber is all tight on the tree, and you're good to go from there. The tricky part is kneeling down to put this on, and the way that I do it is sliding 1 foot out from the hand climber at a time, and keeping pressure on the hand climber at all times, because you don't want that thing to slip before you get it connected. And I only pay out enough tether to lower me down as I'm going. I keep that tight all the time, just in case that hand climber does slip. Now, all these are tricky operations, and getting that hand climber tight is probably one of the most nerve-wracking when you're up in the tree 20 feet, especially with the experiences that I've had with the hand climber and the tethered Mantis. And so if you go that route with a hand climber, be sure to take your time lowering yourself down to hook these straps up. Okay, well, that was about all I wanted to show everyone on how I use my tethered Mantis and my hand climbers. If you have any questions, just be sure to leave them down in the comments below. I'd be more than happy to try to answer them. I'm not an expert on this. I never claim to be. These are just my experiences, the way I use the tethered Mantis and a hand climber. Nothing more than that. If you like what you see, please subscribe and hit that like button. Till next time, thanks a lot for watching.